Hello, my name is McKenna Bischoff, and today I am going to give a persuasive speech on why I believe everyone should have an equal opportunity of living a life without abuse. Here's my audience. Okay, starting off, for my intro, have you ever thought about living in an unhealthy environment or in the past, or maybe know someone who has? Child abuse always casts a shadow the length of a lifetime, and according to the Huffington Post, every year 3 million reports of child abuse are discovered. That statistic stuck out to me because when you think about going home every day and you realize that 3 million children get abused each and every day after going home from school, maybe because they don't have their homework done, or they maybe just don't get the chores done that their parents want them to. And that's a really sad statistic when you realize what is happening in the world and realize how many things are really coming down and causing people to abuse others. So first, for my main point, abuse is cruel. Many people around the U.S. experience abuse, and there is still not much being done to help stop this issue. Physical, sexual, emotional, and neglect are some of the most common ways of abuse, but they are not always the most rational ways to solve an issue or punish an individual. So for example, let's say I come home from school and I failed a test. Many kids, I would just get talked to, and we would try to figure out a situation where I could raise my grade and think of a more rational way to solve the issue. But other kids go home and have to be punished, or maybe get beaten, or just get told how stupid they are because they maybe did not do good on an assignment, or were not doing what was expected of them in their parents' eyes. And that's really sad to think about. And back to the statistic of every year 3 million, or each day 3 million children get abused. And that's a big statistic when you think about how young children can be and how innocent they can be in some situations when they don't know right from wrong. Moving on to my second main point, abuse causes long-term illnesses. The little things you do to others you may or may not consider abuse, but they really can have an impact on someone's life. So that's why another incorporation that I'm going to pull in is bullying. When you go and hang out with your friends and you're like, oh, what is that person wearing? You may think that it's a joke, or you may be joking, but in the end, you could really be hurting someone's feelings, and maybe that's the best clothes that they can afford, or maybe that's the only clothes that their parents will buy them. And that's another way that people do get abused. They just feel awful and feel less of a person and lose self-confidence. And when others are bullying them when they have a chance to get out of the abusive area, that really brings their self-confidence down, and that's sad to watch and be around. Scars, experiences, reflections, and many other things bring back the memories for children and adults. And that reminds them of the time when they had to come through and be strong and act like everything was okay, even though every day after school or after work, they could be getting abused physically, emotionally, sexually, or any type of neglect. Third, abuse has many signs. We need to become more alert and aware of the signs and precautions of all types of abuse on many different kinds of peoples. Like I said, many people experience violence every day, and often it's more than once. Whether out of any of the forms, whether it's physical, sexual, emotional, or neglect, they are abused in some way and brought down to another level in some way to feel like less of a person. And that's why we need to recognize and become more alert of what is happening, because when we think everything's okay, sometimes you just need to go to someone and be like, hey, do you need a friend? Are you okay? Do you need to talk? Is everything okay? Or just show them that they are cared about and that there is people around that care about them, although they may get abused at home. And one of the main reasons I feel this way about abuse is because you always see people at schools or outside of the building, and they just are quiet, and you know that they may not have a very good home life. But like, one thing that I think even everyone could work on is just being there for everyone and just being nicer people, because that will encourage them to feel more comfortable and feel like it's okay to come and talk to you. One of the most obvious ways that long-term illnesses have affected people who get abused is PTSD, and that's post-traumatic, and that's one thing that many people, if you get abused or are in bad situations, that's something you can't get away from. And that's another reason why we need to become more alert and aware and realize what abuse does to many people. And my last thing to talk about in my conclusion is how films have been created to help show and get precautions of abuse across. That should give us, when we watch those movies or see what other people go through, that should make us reevaluate our life and just take a minute to realize how blessed we truly are, or how good we may have it, because we don't go home to a family or a guardian that abuses us or hits us or expects so much from us that when we aren't able to give that, they bring people down into less of a person. So once again, I believe that everyone should have an equal opportunity at living a life without abuse, because number one, abuse is cruel. Number two, abuse causes long-term illnesses like PTSD. And number three, abuse has many signs and symptoms that we need to become more aware to make sure that we are able to stop abuse for all. Thank you.